Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. The deadly hostage standoff, the new video just in tonight. Two officers respond. You can see them running to the home, both of them shot. The man holding hostages inside. They deploy several rounds of gas into the home. What happens next? We're on the scene. Also, breaking news as we come on tonight. The 15-year-old girl just found this evening. Authorities say she was with a 47-year-old man who befriended her family, who hired her to babysit. The mid-air scare, new developments tonight. The flight over the U.S., the pilots revealing that the cockpit screens suddenly went dark. Then the emergency landing. Former Vice President Joe Biden today on stage, and two jokes that drew immediate attention. You'll hear them, you decide. Severe storms hitting this Friday night, damaging winds, tornadoes possible, and heavy rain and ice sweeping into the Northeast. Sam Champion standing by with the timing. The boy missing since he was just 6, that stunning turn. And now what we've learned today, the charges. The alarming headline from the Grand Canyon tonight, the third death in a matter of days. And now the new warning tonight for tourists taking selfies on the edge. The measles scare, a single patient may have exposed at least 200 people. Major news coming in tonight on Mick Jagger, the heart procedure, how it went, the update just in. And the new consumer warning tonight for parents and grandparents about a very popular sleeper.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Friday night. And we begin with the dramatic new video coming in tonight, revealing the danger faced by two officers during a deadly hostage drama outside Atlanta. Police responding to a call, the new body cam in tonight, showing them racing to the front door in that yard, then coming under fire. The gunman was holding hostages inside. Another officer kicking in the front door, taking a bullet, falling to the ground. Negotiations lasting 17 hours. The officers have survived this, but as we have now learned, there was a grim discovery inside. ABC's Steve Osunsami is on the scene.
Blood in the driveway, females visible inside, unresponsive.
This is the moment when this tragedy began. Someone had called 911 Thursday morning, begging for help. These are the brave men who answered. In body camera video released tonight, you see Henry County Police force their way into this suburban Atlanta home after seeing a lifeless woman on the ground. Inside, a man who may have already killed someone is shooting at the cops. Officer Taylor Webb is hit twice and gets trapped in the garage.
Shots fired, shots fired.
A third officer outside rushes to help. Officer Keegan Merritt is ducking bullets and gets shot in the hand.
Shots fired here, right here, shots fired.
All the while, the gunman is warning police.
He's not coming here. I got a lot of shots. I got a hostage.
But they break into the garage anyway, freeing their wounded officer. By the time police could get in the home after 17 hours, 39-year-old Sandra White, who was 9 months pregnant, was dead, and so is her 16-year-old son. Police say the gunman was her boyfriend, 47-year-old Anthony Bailey, who they say took his own life.
We got 3 babies to bury. We don't know how we gonna do it.
The family tonight is asking for prayers for both themselves and the wounded officers.
So let's get right back to Steve Osunsami tonight, live at the scene. And those officers, I know, are expected to make a full recovery, Steve, but this is just devastating for that family.
It is, David. The crime scene investigators are at their home directly behind me. The teenager who was killed here, he plays football at a local high school. They were planning a surprise baby shower this weekend, but instead are now planning funerals. David.
Steve Osunsami again tonight. Thank you, Steve. There's also breaking news in the search for a 15-year-old girl missing from Louisiana, believed to have run away with a 47-year-old man who befriended her family and who hired her to babysit. Tonight, where they have been found more than 1,000 miles away. Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, after more than a week-long search, authorities say Louisiana teen Damiana Spell has been found safe more than 1,000 miles away from home in Colorado. Police say she ran away with her 47-year-old neighbor, Corey Disotell.
He told her that he loved her and stuff like that.
Authorities say Disotell, a divorced man with 3 children, became friends with the 15-year-old's family, allegedly asking the girl to babysit for his granddaughter. But the teen's sister claims that was a cover-up for their alleged relationship.
Come to find out there was no granddaughter there for her to really be babysitting. They, had that little secret relationship going.
Spell's family says they told police about Disotell after seeing a number of texts to their daughter. The teen's distraught family going door to door, handing out flyers in an attempt to find her. Now, thankful Spell is safe.
So let's get to Stephanie Ramos, who's been covering this. And Stephanie, authorities revealing her family is shocked by this too.
That's exactly right, David. The family isn't exactly sure when the relationship started, but they say in this last week, Damiana has even changed her appearance to avoid getting caught. But with the help of several agencies, authorities say they were able to take Disotell into custody. He could face several charges. David.
Stephanie, thank you. Tonight, new reporting here after a midair scare. A flight over the U.S. headed for Houston when some of the screens in the cockpit suddenly went dark. They had to divert, and ABC's David Curley covers aviation.
The United passengers didn't know.
Yes, we are at the airport, 43 minutes.
They landed in Dallas, but were expecting to be in Houston. Why the diversion?
We lost 2 of our screens. Now, if we kept flying, we lose them all.
The United Express pilot telling the 50 passengers from Knoxville there was a cooling problem and their flight data screens were shutting down, 2 as he said, and worried that the others were in jeopardy.
There's tremendous heat behind those screens. This dictates that we land as soon as possible, because if we had continued, eventually I'd be flying blind. So that's why we're in Dallas right now. It is unlikely this aircraft is going anywhere tonight.
There are 6 main screens in the regional airline, the CRJ-200, and there's a backup, a standby, a small, independently powered screen that gives basic information if everything else goes out.
They wouldn't be flying blind. It's really incumbent upon the crew to talk to the passengers. You don't want to inordinately scare them by using, the wrong terminology.
David Curley with us live tonight from Reagan Airport. And David, these pilots did exactly what they were supposed to do as far as getting the plane down, but they were alarmed by the language.
That is the procedure, that if you have an issue like this, go ahead, divert, get the plane on the aircraft. Experts were a little concerned by the language that the pilot used to explain that diversion, David.
Yes, it would have been unsettling for the rest of us if we were on that plane too. David, thank you. We're also learning more here tonight about the young man who gave that family new hope only to deliver heartbreak again. Timothy Pitson, as you know, disappeared nearly 8 years ago, making national headlines. So tonight, why would this young man do this, claiming to be that boy? What we now know, and the new charges tonight. ABC's Whit Johnson from Kentucky.
Tonight, federal charges for the man accused of impersonating a missing boy and giving false hope to a heartbroken family. Authorities today describing how 23-year-old Brian Reaney allegedly lied to federal agents, claiming he was 14-year-old Timothy Pitson.
At what point in the process did your officers become suspicious of his story?
I think there were suspicions relatively quickly, if for no other reason than he declined to be fingerprinted.
But Reaney agreed to a DNA test, which ultimately revealed his true identity, a convicted criminal just released from prison. The Pitson family crushed.
It's like reliving that day all over again.
Reaney told investigators he got the idea after watching this cable show produced by ABC News.
Reaney told the agents that he wanted to get away from his family and that he wished he had a father like Timothy Pitson's father.
His brother says that Reaney has battled mental illness for years.
I hope he goes to prison for this, or at least an institution.
Whit Johnson with us live tonight from Kentucky. And Whit, we know this young man has already faced a federal judge today, and he could now face significant prison time.
That's right, David. Reaney could face up to 8 years in prison, and authorities allege that he's done something like this at least twice before, pretending to be a victim of sex trafficking. David.
Whit Johnson on this story again tonight. Thanks, Whit. Now to the race for 2020. Vice President Joe Biden has not officially declared a run, but today all eyes were on Biden, his first public appearance since being accused of inappropriate touching. Making a couple of jokes on stage, then immediately afterward coming outside, walking right up to reporters here to explain his humor on stage. ABC's senior national correspondent Terry Moran tonight.
Joe Biden emerged on stage to the cheers of a friendly union crowd, his first appearance since several women went public with complaints about his unwelcome touching.
I just want you to know I had permission to hug Lonnie. I don't know, man.
A few minutes later, Biden invited the kids in the audience up to the stage.
And you guys can sit in the edge or what, I don't want you to have to stand all along, but it's up to you. By the way, he gave me permission to touch him, all right?
This crowd, organized labor, is the heart of the Biden base.
How do you think we built the great middle class? Union. That's a fact. Union.
Then he went after President Trump.
This country can't afford 4 more years of a president lacked in the past and grudges.
But even as he spoke, it was those jokes he made about touching people that were already echoing across social media. And so immediately after, Biden came out to explain.
It wasn't my intent to make light of anyone's discomfort. I realize my responsibility is to not invade the space of anyone who is uncomfortable.
Do you think you earned a permanent direct apology to have come forward so far?
No, well, look, the fact of the matter is I made it clear that if I made anyone feel comfortable, I feel badly about that. That was never my intention, ever.
Terry Moran with us live from Washington tonight. And Terry, Joe Biden telling reporters there that this controversy is going to, quote, change somewhat how he campaigns. Really a lot of varying opinions on this, Terry.
There sure are, and he did say that, David. He acknowledged times have changed and he's going to have to change. That will be a challenge. He first ran for office 50 years ago, a half a century ago this year in Delaware, and he's always been a candidate who, as they used to say, pressed the flesh. That'll have to change. David?
Terry Moran, great to have you. There is news tonight in the battle over President Trump's taxes. House Democrats hand-delivered a letter to the IRS asking for 6 years of his returns. ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl is with us live tonight. John, tonight the president's lawyer sending a letter to the Treasury Department calling the Democrats' move a quote, a gross abuse of power.
It's a 3-page letter, David. It outlines several legal arguments for the Treasury Department and the IRS not to turn over those returns. The president's personal lawyer writing, quote, it is a transparent effort by one political party to harass an official from the other party because they dislike his politics and speech. And in a sign that they are digging in for a fight on this, the lawyer also asks that the Treasury Department, before doing anything, ask the Justice Department to offer a review and an opinion on this. Make no mistake, they are digging in for a long, drawn-out legal battle that is almost certain to go to the Supreme Court. David.
All right, John Karl on a Friday night. John, thank you. President Trump a short time ago delivering a new message for would-be migrants and asylum seekers. The president visiting Calexico, California to see a section of replacement for the border fence there that separates the U.S. from Mexico, saying, quote, our country is full, turn around, that's the way it is. The president had threatened to close the border this week. He has now given Mexico another year to make changes. There is stormy weather sweeping through the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. Also, a powerful new storm threatening the South tonight. Large hail cracking this windshield in Memphis, Texas. We are following all of this. Sam Champion tracking it on a Friday night. Always great to have you, Sam.
Good evening, David. As this Storm 1 exits the East Coast, it's got a lot of cold rain, but let me show you where it's snow, ice, and freezing rain. Let's get to the boards. Right there in central New York, all the way into Boston. Keep an eye on that mix tonight because it's going to be a little slippery. But our bigger concern may be those storms you're talking about, David, and that's what's developing tonight in Texas. Jet stream dropping another area of low pressure. This expands in Saturday and could include some tornadoes here, but the real big problem will be the flooding rains for places that flooded yesterday, like Lake Charles all the way into New Orleans. Look Sunday how this area of storms expands to be even larger. David?
Sam Champion on a Friday. Thank you, Sam. Now to the urgent search for an American woman we've been reporting on, a tourist taken hostage in a national park in Uganda. Gunmen demanding $500,000 in ransom. And tonight, the fateful decision that unknowingly put her in danger. ABC's Ian Pannell from Uganda again tonight.
Tonight, the desperate hunt for a missing American tourist and her driver grows. Kimberly Sue Endicott documenting her Ugandan safari on Instagram. She and her guide, Jean-Paul Merenge Remezo, haven't been seen for more than 3 days.
Untamed beauty rolls on mile after mile after mile. But you can also see why it would be so hard to find anyone who'd been kidnapped. Searching for them in this terrain will be almost impossible.
Officials believe the two are still alive. Now a massive manhunt is underway in an area bigger than Chicago and LA combined. Both kidnapped at gunpoint, the abductors using one of their cell phones to demand $500,000 ransom. One of the last people to see the two telling ABC News that he saw them earlier that day in Queen Elizabeth National Park. His driver telling Jean-Paul that they hadn't seen many animals inside.
Jean-Paul made the decision to go ahead and check his guests in at the lodge and then go out later in the afternoon
searching for the lions. And